guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Miranda if you're new here, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please be sure to subscribe to me. I make videos every week, or try my best to. I just wanted to pop in here to let you know that you will not see comments down below, nor will you be able to write comments. And that is 100% YouTube's doing right now. They are trying to do this thing where they're protecting children under 18 years old on channels. So supposedly channels that show children are getting comments taken away from them. I wrote them an email and they did say that it was temporary, so fingers crossed for that. But in the meantime, you will not be able to comment. This is not my doing. It really sucks, but at the same time, something must have happened in order for them to crack down so hard on this situation. But if you do have comments or anything that you need to ask me, feel free to contact me on my Instagram or my Twitter. I will contact you back there. I'm so sorry, and let's get on to today's video. Hey guys, today I'll be showing you how to make this super cute apron style dress, and I'm going to be using these thrifted pants to do so. Here's the pieces you're going to need to cut out, and also how to measure them, so take a minute to look this over. Here's just more examples on how I got the pieces that I needed. I started cutting open my pants. I took off the waistband and cut down the side seams, but if you're not using thrifted pants, then skip this step. I made sure that my pants were wide enough and measured out my skirt length and cut it out. Since I'm using pants, I had this piece I needed to get rid of. So I'm just going to draw a straight line, pin it, and then I'm going to cut it off and sew a straight line. Then make my other skirt piece. Now I'm just cutting out my ruffle pieces. So I'm taking a long strip and I'm folding it in half. Then cutting my pieces 4 inches wide. Then I'm going to fold it over on itself and make a curved cut like this. Open it up and separate the pieces. And now I cut out all my rest of my pieces that I need for this project. I hem the bottom of the skirt by rolling it up twice and straight stitching it down. And I also want to hem the curved edge of my ruffle piece. So not the straight edge. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to roll it twice and sew it down. Repeat the same thing on the other one. Now my pieces are hemmed. Take the skirt piece, put them right sides together and sew down the side seams. Move the skirt out of the way and take your bib pieces, put them right sides touching, leave the bottom open and sew right here, and right here. Top stitch it when it's done, still leaving that bottom open. I'm measuring the top of the skirt just to find the perfect measurement for my waistband. And I cut out my waistband, and I made it a little bit longer for seam allowance. I started to pin it on the back seam, leaving that seam allowance out and facing it right sides touching. I started pinning all the way around until I get back to the other side. We're going to sew all the way around, leaving the seam allowance out of it, and then we're going to sew the seam allowance closed. Just like this. Now we need to finish off the raw edge, either using a zigzag stitch or an overlocker. And then we're going to fold it to our seam allowance, making sure that our seam allowance is facing up. Fold it down to the seam line and pin it. You're going to pin it all the way around. Then we're going to sew it all the way around, leaving a 2-inch opening to put our elastic in. Get your elastic that fits your waist, put a safety pin to it, and we're going to put it in our casing. I realized that the black was showing through my fabric, so I switched to white. I put the elastic all the way through the casing and I pinned it down so that it doesn't go into my casing. Finish pulling it through. Put the elastic together and sewn it together. And then close my casing. And the skirt is done. Now working on the strap pieces, I'm going to go ahead and sew a straight line for my seam allowances. And this is going to make it easier later on to fold. Once that's done, it'll look like this. My fabric is very slippery, and that is why I chose to do this. Now take the ruffle piece and we're going to base stitch along the top, the straight edge on the ruffle. And the base stitch is just the longest stitch on your machine with no back stitch. Pull the bottom thread together. And then we're going to start pinning it right sides touching our strap piece. We're going to measure about 6 inches up, and that's where we're going to end the ruffle. Sew it. Pull our seam allowance out like this. And then we're going to fold over the edge under to our seam allowance, and then we're going to match it to the stitch line on the ruffle and pin it down. And we're going to do this all the way down. And we're going to sew it. Repeat the same thing on both of them. Once that's done, we're going to put our straps right sides touching the bib and sew it. Now we need to finish off the bottom edge, either using a zigzag stitch or an overlocker. And tuck in the raw edges on the strap and top stitch it down. We're going to attach the bib to the front of the skirt by folding it in half, finding the center, putting it right sides touching the center of the skirt, pinning it, and then sew it down. Now we're going to make our buttonholes for our straps. So I'm measuring them about 1.5 inches apart, and I'm doing 3 buttonholes. Repeat the same thing on the other strap. And then on the back, from the center, we're going to measure 2 inches over, and this is where we're going to sew our buttons on. So I'm just going to make a mark 2 inches over and sew my button to it. If you want a ruffle at the bottom, then go ahead and just measure the bottom and then make the ruffle bigger and then sew it to the bottom. But I chose not to. But here's what it looks like. The straps are adjustable, that's why we have 3 different buttonholes, so that as she's growing, you can make it longer for the straps. I hope you guys liked that tutorial, and if you did, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you like my channel, then please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.